make pancakes with me for my son, but ask me anything about art, ask me anything about how to paint. Hello. Ask me anything about how to run a creative business. I was on not that long ago. This is becoming quite the trend in my life. I've got prints home. I'm going to clean my kitchen now. I've got prints home to show, to send to clients. And I'm going to clean the kitchen and make some pancakes. So ask me anything about art, about life. Look at Santa. This is my son, loves these. I can't cope with them. So, things I thought I would talk about that come up. Self-confidence is the big one in your life, in your work, with your art. Oh, I've got paint on that or something. Oopsies. So let me know. I've got my marigolds on. Let me know if you have any questions. And I will clean here and sort everything for pancakes. Whoopsies. While we're on, where is the cloth? It's the wrong one. GF in our house, so I'm making gluten-free pancakes. But yeah, self-confidence, big one. How to show up online is another one that you guys would like to discuss. I'm going to go and close the gate that is slamming today. Do that. I do not know where someone's put my dishcloth, so that's what we're at here. Tobias, have you the dishcloth, honey? No. Have you the yellow dishcloth? Anyway, okay, sorry, no one needs to know that. I don't know where my dishcloth is. So I'm going to just use this sponge. When I put you guys up the other way, you can at least see the art that is in my house. But anyway, ask me anything. This is the other side of my life. Art is one side, but if you're like me, and I know majority of you have come along, are quite like me, you're building a business around your family. So this tends to be what I have to do, but I don't have any dishcloths left. We use them for like cleaning the fire, or the kids do if they do the jobs or their chores, and then they get abandoned. So Santa is certainly on the screen there. I'm going to just have to use this. So I'll show you the prints that I brought home in a minute. And yeah, you can ask me anything. So prints, that's what I thought I would talk about, prints. So I've got prints home today to wrap and send to clients. I am actually not promoting prints at all at the minute. I just took them off my site. I built my whole business on prints to begin with. And there's a few levels to that, right? So prints are interesting. Prints are interesting. First of all, make them special edition if you make any prints. I didn't do that for a long time. And that doesn't really bother me, but I remember someone saying, you need to put an edition on these. But then in the same breath, they wanted, you know, a ton of them and for them to be cheaper. But we can add value whenever you put your prints on at Marigolds. You add value automatically when you put prints on in that are limited edition. So you can do editions as small as, sometimes I do editions as small as 20. I was a photographer building my creative business. If you stick around here long enough, you can hear me go on about all the different ways that we build creative careers. It's not just one path. I started off, I realized that I could make money and work around my very small kids at the time, who were 2 and 4. I know I have a third child, but I was a photographer, absolutely loved it, because I had specialized in moving, a lot of like moving image whenever I was at art college. So I used my good equipment to photograph my paintings, and then we edit them, or I used to get someone else to edit them. No, I edited them, sorry. And then I got someone else to print them. I've always outsourced my prints. You might feel different and you might want to, get a printer. That was what my dream used to be. I used to think I wanted to make enough money to buy a big printer, which is about $7,000. But really, I couldn't be bothered. Even if I had the money, I would rather outsource it, I think, if I wanted to put the money into something like that, because there's something quite good about just doing that. However, if you're at the start of your journey and you want to do the prints, getting a good quality image, you don't need to scan prints all the time now. You can take a good quality image, take a photo, make it into a JPEG, and then the likes of Canva are also, I'm not sponsored by Canva, I've mentioned them a few times now. Canva will print your prints for you. So I use a local company. I actually used a local company for all of mine, and I loved prints. I built the business selling prints. But the reason I say that there's 2 angles to that is because I don't think I valued my originals enough to begin with, and that was why I did prints. It felt easier for me to sell something between 10 and 70 pounds than it felt to exchange hundreds of pounds. So I think that reflects a lot on me and how I valued myself. Thankfully, we're working through that. We're all a work in progress. That's why I'm sharing with you on TikTok about my journey through all of this, because I think it's worth sharing, because I'm still standing and I'm 16 years in it now. So I'm not going anywhere fast. The prints they were about A5 size. So they were between postcard size and as large as these ones. So I no longer really sell prints. I don't have prints necessarily on my shop, but I would say they're a very good idea in terms of gift ideas. And also some people like to move their art around. So my house here now, like there's paintings there, there's paintings there. So there's a washing bag. So there's paintings over there where the mess is. And there's paintings, if I flip you upside down, there behind you. But sometimes people just want their art to be moved about, and they find prints easier to do that. So it's really good for that type of the market. For me, at the stage I'm at in my career now, people buy my originals and they don't want me to have prints of them. That comes up. So that was one reason why we came back from them. And also now I've kind of upgraded a little bit in terms of the markets that I'm hitting. But I'm thinking about maybe a different site. I'll bring you prints in here now, those of you who are still here. Like, prints are gorgeous. And prints are as, high-end quality or as low-end as you want. I'll set the food out of the way now that I've got it clean. But the likes of this one here is one of my abstract paintings in print form, and that would be it's a really popular one. And it's upside down. Give me just a second. I think it's better that I don't know who's on, or I can't see the screen, because I am sometimes far to myself. This is sold and it's actually got a little bit of a dent in it. But this shows you the quality. So because I still use my good camera, and I would say to you, get someone to photograph it really, really well if you are thinking of doing prints. Oh, and look at this one. I've smushed it. So this is a different paper. This is German etched paper, very heavyweight. They're very expensive for me to make, which is not the point of prints. The point of prints is that you want to make your profit on, and that's why people do that a lot. I guess for me, it just felt distracting. But you can always go back. If you decide you want to do prints for a day, and then not a day, for long enough to sell them, and then you think, I don't want to do prints anymore, that's okay. Or for me, I wanted to tidy up my website, so we took them off. But you can always come back. So I think I'll probably come back, especially now at Christmas. I'm probably missing out on a lot of money. I used to make thousands a month on print sales, but my outgoings were still pretty high, believe it or not. And then I pulled the plug on that. And the reason I pulled the plug originally on prints was to push me into my paintings. And that's what I'll say to you is about the journey. If you think about building a career, building a creative career, building momentum, making an income, you have to pivot, and you have to pivot fast. So if you think about COVID, and I was talking about that yesterday, about making, the business went up by 300% because I just sat online, taught online, made packs of paint and canvases, sent them all over the world, and people met on a Friday evening. It'd be really cool to do those now without sending you the packs, all to join to paint. You know that I want to do that, but I had to pivot during COVID. I pivoted when I realized I didn't want to sell the prints anymore. But so prints are gorgeous, but in order for me to push the paintings, I had to let them go. But anyway, they're still lovely. This was a client had asked me about, they wanted to buy prints. So they're still so beautiful, I think. Because I was a photographer, they're always going to be this lovely, clear, crystal clear. And it's an exciting thing. So if you're at the start of your journey and you've made a painting that you love, but you want to give it life in a different form, a print's a really, really nice way to do that. So I'm glad I've done them. I'm glad I still have these. This shows you quite a good one for, because I work with impasto quite often, which is thick oils using palette knife. This shows you how clear the image is when you work with a good camera, when you know what you're doing. But Adobe is how I edit them. And my flowers in the background are dying here. Just noticed that. Just going to swiftly move those out of the way. They're not all dead, but they're almost dead. He's going to come down looking at his pancakes, and I'm on here talking nonsense to you. I'm not talking nonsense. Last one, I'll show you these last few. We then stopped putting the border on them and went for this. So this is A1. And that's another thing I would say is experiment with the size of the print that you make. Try it, use Canva, use something that already sends you, it already has the template there done. Because once you see it in large form, it's impressive, I think. So the original of this sold, but it was the same size that I was talking to some of you about earlier, which is 121 by 90 is the size of the original. And this is it in print form. Now you can see as well, look how glistening my gold is, this is a print. This looks like a sales pitch. This is not. This is to tell you about prints. I don't even have these. You can't even buy these. So I'm only showing them so you can see. Then to see soft pastel in print form. When you work with soft pastel, you're on paper often. So this is soft pastel on paper that I photographed. I should get you the original because I actually gave it. This is nearly brighter. That's the other thing to think about. There's many things to think about with prints. When you have prints, the color will pop. The contrasts are stronger. So be really careful with that, what you show the client and what they're actually going to get. If you show them the original, especially if we're using our acrylic paint is much softer, much more matte. The colors and contrasts pop bigger, stronger whenever we put them into print form. But if you have any questions around how to make prints of your work or how you're feeling today about your work, or if anything that I have taught you on here or spoke about has helped you in your work, look how wonky that phone is up there. But these are prints. I'm going to get the ingredients out for my pancakes. I'm going to make my son a hot chocolate. And then my studio that I've been working from the last few days at home with you guys is over that way. So these prints are going to get moved to there. And then this is Santa. My mum buys this. I love her to pieces, but she buys Tat, and my 9-year-old, he has additional needs and he absolutely loves Tat. Right. So prints, price point of prints, take into account your I have a client actually that I'm mentoring at the minute, the only client that I mentor, because I'm not doing any one-to-ones, but I will go back to it eventually. And I'm going to condense all the stuff that I do with one-to-one clients into a downloadable format for you. But ask me anything at all to do with art, how to build a business. Right now, I'm just talking about prints in particular. But my client is currently making prints of her work, and she didn't know about pricing of, so people get caught up. They think you need to mount them to send them mounted. Yes, clients like them mounted, but they still have to frame it anyway. I went through a stage, and one of the craziest Christmases of my life was selling prints framed. Nightmare. So much glass was broken. Royal Mail lost the stuff. It was not a good move. So there's many different things to think about with prints. The price point of them, and then the pricing of your shipping. You can do that on weight, or you can do that on whether it's international, whether it's local. You can add collection if you have a studio yourself, or if you're working from a home studio. Excuse me. So prints. I like to use matte. Mine is, the weight of it I'd have to remember, but it's basically, I like a matte or a satin finish. I do not like a gloss finish. So that's another tip I would give you. And then you're probably going to ask me actually about prints, about where to sell them. So I would always plug you and want you to do your own, use your own website. However, if you don't have a website yet, you can sell directly. I'm going to go and close this gate. You can sell directly through a direct message on Instagram or on your TikTok. People have Revolut now, they have PayPal, people do bank transfers. It's become easier and easier and easier. If people are coming to collect them, they can pay you in person. You can use Square app on your phone. There's so many ways to make transactions easier, and prints are a nice way to get into the way of selling and to get into the way of exchanging with your art so that you feel comfortable with that. I would say tubes as well. You've got to think about the tubes that they go in. You've got to think about, maybe I think TikTok shop seems to be the big thing. They keep telling me I need to do stuff like that, but that feels like a lot. So tubes, tissue paper, we wrap them in. So that's another thing, is think about like how you present it. And a nice way to start with the prints and think about your own exchange and your own business is, what are you like as a consumer? So how do you, I talk a lot about your art and bringing your art so that you connect with your audience, but same light, if they do make a purchase, what's the experience for them? I have my exhibition, it's only one night / event on Thursday, and what I'm thinking about is what the customer journey is. So the same way, if you sell prints of your work, or if you sell any of your pieces, you want to think about what is it from the minute it arrives at their door to whenever they open it up, to whenever they are passing it over. Like, do you want to put branding in that? Do you want your logo? Do you have a logo? Do you have a signature? There's all of these elements which are really important to think about. I'm going to pull up a recipe for these. But ask me anything to do with building your business or painting, any of the above. I'm here for all of it. The minute we're just talking about prints, if you've just joined, prints are a great way. Oh, home art chat, that's okay. Prints are just a lovely way for you to feel like you can also, it's a good way to not give away your favorite pieces of art. So you hold on to the original yourself. Okay, find the recipe here. Sorry. If I go on that, does it come off? No. Isn't it amazing what we can do now with everything? So isn't it amazing that we can build our businesses online? That's for another time. But today, prints are a good thing. Gluten-free, self-raising flour. 1 large egg. Yeah, prints. But prints, I would advise you to sell them either rolled up or so sell them rolled up in a tube. Have your details on the inside of it. Have post. You'll need to get stickers as well. Labels. So labels for the front, labels for a sticky label for their name. You'll need one of your tissue paper potentially to wrap it in. And the nice thing is you can have the tissue paper linked to your own, like to the colors that you use. So, I love neon or gold. So we use that for them. So many different things, but think about it, the customer journey. Like, what is it from the minute they hit purchase or that they contact you right through until they get it in the post, until they have it framed? Like, what is it that how can you do a customer journey with the prints in mind? Tips? I've got bacon on. Do you want sausages as well? Or just pancakes? Okay. Just pancakes. Right, so we're just chatting about prints. Prints of your work. Prints are worth doing. Prints are good. Prints are a good way to keep hold of your originals if you want to hold on to them, but definitely look into putting them as limited edition so that you're not just making the same. The ones that I didn't do limited edition, I never worried about them going on. I never worried about selling them for less money. So then whenever we moved to doing them limited edition, it means that you can increase the value a little bit. But prints have never been something that I have been. There's a lot of people that are a bit obsessive about, prints is their only thing that they want to sell. That's a dangerous play, I think, because you're better thinking about your art, because then you can, in terms of financially, you can make more money by selling the original. And then there's it's a complete one-off then. So you don't have the luxury of prints. But prints was how I grew the business originally for me. And that's why I'm not discouraging you from making prints, because it was the best way for me on my own with kids, just figuring out how to run a website. I was a photographer, so I was able to photograph my own prints, but I always outsourced them, and it was a really good way for me to sell, so that my work was in people's houses. So whenever you're thinking about making prints, if you're thinking about making prints, think of the real positives of that means you can get your work into more people's houses if it is priced at a point that feels reasonable and can be used as gift ideas. Large egg. I'm going to move my prints. I've had my prints out for those of you who have just joined, because these have sold and they're going to go to clients, but I don't have them on my website at the minute. I don't promote prints, and the reason I do things like that is every so often I feel it's like whenever you have a wardrobe. I'm saying it. I mean, having a business is a bit like having a wardrobe. So every now and then you've got to just whittle stuff out so you come back to the capsule wardrobe. So with me and my business and building it, it's like I'm back on I'm back on lives. I'm back on being present for you guys as well, because I've cleared enough space and the body of work that I've made feels like strong, so that I'm able to like give this time to build up other people and to help other people where possible. So when it comes to the business, then I just whittle it out every now and then. So it felt like my wardrobe, whenever I have too many socks, I just had to get rid of prints. So even though prints are absolutely beautiful and gorgeous, and they're a market in themselves, and there's people, especially here in Ireland, Northern Irish people who are and Irish artists who are doing so well selling their prints. I would rather, right now at this stage, this might change in a couple of months, this might change in a year, this might change by next week, but I want to sell my paintings and to teach people and to grow that side of my business. And I felt that prints were a distraction. But that is not saying the same for you. It is not a distraction necessarily for you. It is it's not something I would discourage. I love prints. So that's on. I'm going to go get a hair tie. Let me know if you have any questions. I can't see the questions on YouTube. Oh, hello. Connected again. You made pancakes last night. Fabulous. What did you have on them? I put in bacon and sausages there with mine. And we are obsessed in this house with biscotti spread, which is not good for my son who's celiac, but we allow him to do a little bit. He's a big guy, but lovely. Hope you're having a great day. Right, cup of self-raising flour. Oh, hair bubble. I wanted a hair tie. Hi, I'm back. I was getting a hair ball for my huge hair. Huge hair. Any questions? Cherry jam and whipped cream. Oh my goodness, Louisa, this on your pancakes? Unreal. Unreal. Yum. This one, I love pancakes in general. And when I was in my residency, in which I've talked about, you're gonna be so bored about hearing about it, but it's the most recent thing that I have done in my art career, so that's why I'm sharing. And it took a lot of nerves and bravery to do it, but I did it. When I was away at it. We only had one little hob between us, so you couldn't do pancakes, or if you did, there was like one hob. There was no oven, so I missed things like I've missed things like bread and pizzas and all that kind of thing. That was what I really missed. Anyway, today I've been talking about prints. If you've just joined, thank you for being here. It's kind of just a casual check-in. Hello, hello, because why not? Milk. I'm making pancakes. It's very normal. My life is very intertwined with my children. My art career is very intertwined with my children. Always has been. It's all I know. So, and I'm glad that I've done it. Milk, milk, milk. And you may as well be a part of it. Checking in to see that I'm just a normal person like you. All of us are juggling and doing and thinking about anything else to do with prints, because we've been talking about prints. Anything else to do with prints? Someone was asking about markets the other day, about selling your work at markets. I don't know where my mixer's gone. Markets are really cool. Like, some markets are really, really cool. We went to a market in Portugal the only time I left the residency in Portugal, and it was the most disappointing market I've ever been to. But here in Belfast, we have lots of markets, and there's some artists that all they do is sell at the markets, and that's their thing, and it's really cool. And they have like international people visit it if it's like a popular market. Just for me, I always found it was a very tough, maybe it was the length of time I was away from the kids, long days, a lot of preparation, but prints were very good for that, in that, you know, those are the times that you would maybe put a print into a frame. But apart from that, and those are good, because majority of people going to a market are not going to buy original art at, you know, £4,000. They're going to get gifts and little things like that. But yeah, the market that we went to in Portugal was, I think it actually turned out to be a commune of some sort. So it was, and I'm pretty open and pretty liberal, but it was like something out of a movie. It was like a different alternative universe, and just not the little bitsy market that we all thought it was going to be. But whenever it comes to you and your art and selling art, if you're in the UK, I don't know whereabouts you are in the world, let me know. But Christmas is definitely a time when the markets are more busy. Where in Portugal exactly? I was in Arealos, which is 100 kilometers from Lisbon. So I flew into Lisbon and then went from there. And it was the middle of nowhere. It's really, there was a man murdered though when I was there, and that was awful. I can't even understand that word on things, but that was what happened when I was on my residency, and it made the whole thing a bit different, really. But in terms of when you're away, if you're away, and I talk about this a lot, giving your time and space to be creative, that's what the residency did allow me to do. It allowed me to be very, very creative. All creativity, from like cutouts of things to just wandering to placing colors, stripes. So I can see why people do residencies. I'm going to move the prints out of the way. Move the sausages. Yeah, any questions you have? No question, apart from any inappropriate ones, are silly, because it's hard. And whenever you're awake in the middle of the night, worrying about anything to do with your art, now's the time to ask me what you need help with. If it's practically or if it's emotionally, I can help you with that, because it's an emotional journey, especially when you put yourself out there into the world. These are the prints I'm going to set out of the way. let's talk briefly about the significance and intuition in your art. I did these little paintings yesterday. Some of you that were live for them, sorry, they're in next door. I did those on the live. And these are the other ones that I made, which are little abstract paintings of grannies. So I sketched a lot of grannies when I was away. My current body of work and the one that I'm doing for my exhibition this week is all about grandmothers, and your grandmother was once a girl. So I made those little paintings yesterday, and I made 7 of them because my dad died when I was 7, and my grandmother became a very big part of my story. She couldn't drive, and she lived up in the country, pig farm. My grandfather died 9 months after my dad died, so Granny basically moved in with us for a lot of the time. And whenever I was making those paintings yesterday, so I've been sketching old women, sketching grandmothers, talking to you guys, getting your feedback as well. If you're just here, in 5 words or less, let me know if you're happy to share. We don't use names, but let me know. Describe your grandmother in those 5 words. So I've been doing a lot of research. It's been a very big body of work. Charcoal sketches, Indian ink, pencil, poetry. So when I came to painting the abstract yesterday, I used 7 because I was 7 when Granny came into my life a lot more and when Dad died. And I made 7 of them. So then today I was at the studio when I was talking to you guys earlier in my Belfast studio. And I thought, oh, I better bring the wee mini abstract grannies that I painted when I got back from Portugal. And I counted them, and there's exactly 7. So that's intuitive art, my friends. That's whenever your art is working for you and all you're doing is your vehicle to bring it to life. It's a beautiful thing. And that was really special for me to count those like on the hop and be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. So that, because I hadn't thought of that before I did these ones. I just was working with it. So when you're working with your work, working with your own art, if it's something that's just, you just can't get it out of your head and you just keep coming back to it, let it sit and let it play out on its own and see if it starts to speak for you, if that makes sense, because your art will lead you to these wee things, or look back over things, ponder over them, like what is the meaning? It's why I harp on at you about your art is so much more than just a pretty picture. It is. It's a pretty picture, but it's more than a pretty picture. And I want to lead you guys in that excitement of your own work and how to really tap into it and the emotions of it. And the better you get to know yourself, the more you get to know your work, and then your work gets stronger, and then your work connects with more people. And that's the cycle that we go on. It's got really dull here in Northern Ireland. Right, we'll test the first one. The first one's never the best one, is it, in terms of pancakes? Do I want an egg with mine? I think I do, but you don't want to listen to that whenever we're here on the live. Any other questions before I make an egg? Questions around building, creative business, making art, painting. I love your questions. I love helping where I can, sharing. Ask me anything about mine as well, about my life, anything that you want to know. My life and my work, I should say. My life and my work. Ask anything about. Oh, it started to rain. I think this looks like a good one. And it can be hard to get I don't know where my flipper is either. Right, I'm going to go and concentrate on this. Have a good day. Let me know in the videos that I post, always put your questions under there. I will reply to them. And it also means the next time I come on the live, I can answer your questions around how to make art, how to build a business, how to sustain a business, because I'm 16 years in it, how to pivot in business and in a creative business in particular. So always let me know, or any practical things that you want to know about pencil sketching or market. So people, or today as we're talking about prints, let me know and we'll always just check in. I just feel like there's no point in you watching me do pancakes, so that's why we'll go. But it's always lovely to be here for you.